It is now beyond reasonable doubt that former President Barack Obama was indeed at the very center of the Russian collusion hoax, and President Trump has set his sights on taking him and his deep state cronies down. This is absolutely unbelievable. We're going to take a look at the latest bombshell revelations of the involvement of the former president in this whole Russian collusion hoax, and how it appears that Obama officials are starting to panic as Justice Department indictments are ready to bring Washington, D.C. to its knees. You're going to absolutely love it. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. I certainly hope you're having a safe and sound beginning of this wonderful week. If this is your first time with us and you're looking for some daily encouragement and optimism in the midst of all of the nonsense spewed from our left-wing Marxist media, then you have found your oasis in this channel. We analyze current events and analyze some super awesome conservative trends so you can live in the present. In light of even better things to come, we help you to think better so you can feel better. So if you haven't already done so, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. It'll be an absolute privilege to have you as a regular part of this channel, where each and every day we get to celebrate together the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. Now let's start with our video chat question of the day. Do you believe that Barack Obama was at the center of the Russia collusion hoax? Let us know in the comments below. Do you believe that Barack Obama was at the center of the Russia collusion hoax? Because it really does appear more and more apparent that the former president, and indeed his vice president, Joe Biden, were actually part and parcel of the whole hoax that attempted deliberately to overthrow a duly elected president. But first, one of the things we have to deal with is the simple fact that all of us leave behind final expenses such as funeral costs, medical bills, and other debts. In fact, I don't know if you know it, but the average funeral alone costs between $8,000 and $9,000. So what that means is that having no insurance when you die can leave your loved ones with a huge bill to deal with, and obviously no one wants that. But you can take control of your family's destiny today and have the satisfaction that they'll be financially taken care of. So make sure to click on the link below and visit ratefamily.com and get a free quote. No waiting periods, 100% benefits, and here's, even if you've been turned down before, they guarantee coverage for everybody, no matter the situation. You heard that right. They guarantee coverage for everybody, no matter the situation. So do not wait. Click on that link below and visit ratefamily.com, or simply give them a call at 1-855-919-RATE. You'll be glad that you did. All right, gang, this is amazing. Let's dive right in here. More and more pundits and papers are coming out and demanding that the Obama administration actually be brought to justice. It's something I thought I'd never see in my lifetime, but here it is. Now, it was certainly recognized from the get-go that Trump was ready to take on the Obama administration. Vanity Fair recognized immediately that with the exoneration of Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, Trump was poised to set his sights on a whole cadre of Obama officials. What became evident as of the release of the long hidden transcripts last week, if all this Russian collusion nonsense has become a bit confusing for you, it's now all becoming actually incredibly simple, at least in terms of its center or core. We, as of last week, with the release of the transcripts and testimonies, we have now learned that the Obama administration used intelligence agencies to deliberately try to take down President Trump, what they thought would be on obstruction of justice charges. And the way they decided to do that is by using a manufactured, fabricated narrative of Russian collusion as their justification, and Lieutenant General Michael Flynn as their primary tool. They hoped they could get Flynn to turn on Trump, which would either expose some Trump corruption that they didn't know about, or it would cause what they thought was an overly paranoid Trump to try to cover up corruption they didn't know about, thus making him guilty of obstruction of justice through a Mueller investigation. So this is why former CIA Director John Brennan actually went so far as to publicly accuse our president of treason after his press conference with Russian President Vladimir Putin, right, last year, 2 years ago. Brennan actually went so far as to accuse President Trump of treason. This is a national security crime that entails the death penalty. But that was part of the hoax, you see, a hoax that Brennan himself appears to have been at the center of concocting. That, according to the president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. He thinks there's enough evidence to show that Brennan actually ran and orchestrated the coup attempt against President Trump. Would it not it be ironic if Brennan ends up getting charged with the very same thing he fallaciously accused Trump of? But regardless, at some point during the course of 2016, we now know that the Obama administration decided that they needed to stop then candidate Donald Trump from ever even coming close to the White House. And then when their worst fears were suddenly realized, right, and Trump was elected overwhelmingly, they decided he needed to be overthrown and that the election needed to be overturned. Now, we now know that Obama and Biden were at the center of this coup. They were the axis around which this coup was contrived and devised. Fox News is reporting that according to documents released last Thursday, President Obama was indeed aware of the wiretapping of Lieutenant General Michael Flynn's phone conversations with a Russian ambassador. Now remember, Michael Flynn was fired by Obama as director of the Defense Intelligence Agency after Flynn contradicted Obama's statements that al-Qaeda was no longer a threat. Obama's, from my understanding, he's an incredibly thin-skinned fellow. And so Flynn was dismissed by the Obama administration. And we have to wonder what they were so worried about now that Flynn was going to come back to the White House as national security advisor under President Trump. But whatever the Obama administration was freaking out over, they set their sights on Flynn as the catalyst for the Russian collusion narrative. We now know that on January 5th, 2017, Attorney General Sally Yates was present in a meeting with Barack Obama and Joe Biden in the White House. So this is about 3 weeks before Trump was inaugurated as president. She testified that she was present at a meeting where Barack Obama openly discussed with FBI Director James Comey the wiretapping conversations between Mike Flynn and the Russian ambassador. And it is at that meeting when Comey brought up using the Logan Act against Flynn. Now, if you're not familiar with why that's so significant, you need to remember just two things. First, the Logan Act has been called by my namesake, Jonathan Turley, professor of law over at George Washington University, the last refuge for the American prosecutorial scoundrel. The Logan Act was enacted in 1799. Now, of course, I'm all for retraditionalization, but this is crazy, right? The Logan Act was enacted in 1799. It has never been successfully used against any citizen since its enactment. And many constitutional scholars see it as grossly unconstitutional. So that's the first thing you have to recognize here, that the whole appeal to this Logan Act is insane, and that it was even discussed. The fact that it was even discussed credibly by the FBI director and the President of the United States should send shivers down your spine. But why were they discussing it? Well, that leads to the second thing that we have to remember, because this meeting's on January 5th. On January 4th of 2017, the day just before the meeting between Obama, Biden, and Comey, the FBI they completed their investigation with Flynn, and they found that there was absolutely, and I quote them, no derogatory information whatsoever of any kind linking Flynn to Russia. Okay? Now that's already, it was already a highly suspect investigation to begin with. But according to the Department of Justice just last week, when they dropped all the charges against Flynn, this is precisely where the FBI investigation of Flynn should have ended, on January 4th of 2017. This is where the now disgraced, rabid left-wing FBI agent Peter Strzok comes into the picture. Strzok was the FBI agent in charge of the sham investigation of Hillary Clinton and her deletion of government emails on her private server, which Strzok from the beginning had no intention of fulfilling. Strzok intervened after January 4th and kept the FBI investigation going, largely at the behest of Comey. And we know this because of the texts that were exchanged between Strzok and his FBI colleague Lisa Page, with whom he was having an affair at the time. Again, if you recall, Lisa Page testified that there wasn't a shred of evidence to justify the Mueller investigation to the Trump campaign and its alleged collusion with Russia. But that didn't matter. That wasn't the point, because this was a deliberate attempt by top-ranking Justice Department FBI officials, it seems, to cover up their exoneration of Hillary Clinton. And so the Logan Act was used as an excuse to keep the investigation against Michael Flynn going. And it's here in this meeting that we begin to see the concoction of a massive hoax that would end up, in the eyes of Russian studies scholar Stephen Cohen, bringing us closer to World War III with Russia than anything he'd ever seen during the height of the Cold War. And so now as these revelations are coming out, now it looks like we're starting to see Obama panic. Obama was quoted from a private call that the rule of law is at risk after the Justice Department dropped all charges against Michael Flynn. That's what he said. Obama was quoted as saying that there was simply no precedent for anyone who had just been charged with perjury and then got off scot-free. But again, as my dear namesake Jonathan Turley quickly corrected our former president, reminding him that Flynn emphatically was not charged with perjury, sir. He was charged with a single count of false statements to a federal investigator, which recently disclosed evidence shows to be radically problematic, and thus Turley called for the dismissal of those charges over a week ago. Plus, there's ample evidence for what the Attorney General did in dismissing the case against Flynn. And Turley suggests that Obama look at the record of his own Attorney General, Eric Holder, for example, as just such a precedent. Holder did the same thing. So what's going on with Obama? Could it be that Obama and his ilk are beginning to panic a little? Are they beginning to feel the wheels of justice starting to crush them? Whatever it is, Trump's tweet the other night declaring the whole Russian collusion hoax OBAMAGATE shows that he's now ready and perhaps more determined than ever to drain the swamp of Washington, D.C. and crush the Obama-led deep state once and for all. Now, before you go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video on the colossal fall of CNN's Chris Cuomo. It's just going to make your day. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.